Hi, this video is about documenting the solution architecture, and the things I discuss here may be different from the way solution architecture is documented in your project currently. In last a decade, there has been a mindset shift as organizations are trying to becoming more agile. They are adopting a practice of less documentation. The agile strategy at many places is to defer the creation of document as late as possible, creating them just before you need them via a practice called document late. And because by the end of the development cycle, you know exactly what you have built, you will write accurate system overview in one go. Similarly, the majority of the user and support documentation is also best written towards the end of the life cycle. Drawback of the documenting late is that you will not remember everything. You will not remember all the design decisions you made and why you made them. You may not have funding and time for documentation in the end. Lastly, you will lack interest for documentation in the end. In contrast, in waterfall approach, a detailed design specification is produced before development begins, but there are drawbacks that document will be outdated by the end of the development cycle. Otherwise, if you keep on maintaining the document, then that is additional cost and time for the project. An agile way is to leave the full document for late in SDLC cycle, but you can take notes for the design decision throughout the development so that you don't lose any critical information. You maintain a log of all those decisions you made. And just before the final delivery, you can create the document and polish the document. A more formal way for taking notes is ADR. An architecture decision record is a document that captures a significant architectural decision, including the context, options considered, and the consequences of that decision, serving as a record for why and how a choice was made, as well as it can capture the alternatives that were considered and pros and cons of each alternative. Ideally, a solution architect should drive things in the project. Solution architects should guide across all the stages of the software development lifecycle, and avoiding any kind of development rework is solution architecture objective. And for that, solution architects prepare the design documents, while ADRs are for documenting a specific architectural decision. A design document provides comprehensive overview of the system and its implementation. They are especially great help for bigger transformation projects such as migration from one infra to other, digitization of customer journeys, etc. The audience of design documents are not just development team, but other key stakeholders. Many organizations have governance and have make mandatory to prepare a design document which goes through formal review and approval process. If the design has not yet signed off from all the stakeholders, and if the development is not according to the design documented, then features developed will not go live. Solution architect can start the initial draft of the design document, capturing necessary information and details early and add more information when he or she gets sufficient clarity. The solution architect will share the draft design with development team who can provide feedback. Solution architect can also present the document to stakeholders for feedback and review. A reviewed and approved design document from all relevant stakeholders is the final design document. When certainty is more, uncertainty is more. For example, I was an architect for a major transformation program that took 2 through 3 years to implement. The stakes were high. It was a multi-million-dollar project, and the design document was like a manual. As the design document was a shared document, I didn't want to put anything in the design document unless I had certain level of confidence or the design has been agreed with relevant stakeholders. I created two versions of the same design document, one work in progress that I did not share with everyone, but other with but maybe shared with few fellow designers and the delivery manager, but is still private. I can put as much as details I want in the work in progress document. Same time I created a draft design document. I only put finalized pieces of the design into the draft design document. With time, the draft design document will go through review and approval and become the final design document. Everything I first add in the work in progress document, and with work in progress has all the design options, discussions, logs, etc. And when things got finalized, I copy from the work in progress into the design document. I can also add more things into work in progress documents, such as something for the future design reference, etc. The amount and pace and the content of the architecture documentation also depends whether it's a greenfield or a brownfield system or project. A brownfield system needs more upfront documentation because there are existing customers, existing integrations, and we do not want to break things. Mature domains have a lot of industry reference architecture and building blocks, and they can be used to build organization-specific architecture um, building blocks. And I was part of a big banking project in which we were building banking tech stack from scratch. There was a lot of upfront documentation to help the team understand the bigger picture, including design. And we created a lot of design documents even before the development started. We were able to do so because a lot of industry references were available, and the solution architects in the team had a good industry experience. Where if it's totally greenfield system, there will be a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things will keep on changing, there will be innovation. So no need to do a big upfront documentation. Typically, many companies follow a center of excellence or COE structure in which there is a core solution architect team and there are virtual solution architects who are also part of the COE. The core members are the key participants and they are present in all meetings. They are subject matter experts and enterprise IT architects. The virtual participants join either to present the architecture they are working or they join to see what others are presenting. A virtual participant is aligned to the project in terms of work and hierarchy. The core team members, whereas, are aligned vertically to the central, and they guide project team work solution architects in terms of architecture and the organization goals and objectives. The core team members' responsibility is also to align the overall architecture with business. Project solution architects, who are the virtual participants of the COE, they present their solution architecture into the COE, and the core team members can provide feedback and review and sign off to the solution architecture. If we have a distributed system that has components such as microservices, one team manages one component and teams are agile and cross-functional. They deliver value through iterative development, and these nimble teams discover and extend the architecture only as necessary to implement and validate the next increment of the functionality. It's an emergent design. In a sprint, it is only that much design work that is required for the sprint, and mostly development team is capable of doing it. An architect, if present, can act as a coach or mentor to the team, can optionally also do code reviews and help team understand the bigger picture when needed. But the rest of the team have all the architecture runway, that is existing components and infrastructure required to implement near-term features without excessive redesign and delay. Um, Whereas there is also an intentional design which is prepared by the solution architect, a set of purposeful planned architectural guidelines that focus long-term stability, security, performance, usability, and directions for the cross-team designs. Examples of guidance can be how microservices will communicate, selecting technologies and maintaining the technology reference architecture, building common libraries, etc. The intentional architecture and guidelines are documented as a single source of truth, and anyone from any agile team can refer to them and keep their emerging design always in line with the intentional design. Now, how solution architect ensures emerging design is in line with the intentional design? That is the governance and control that solution architects create. A solution architect can create a forum and a weekly meeting, and tech lead of each Scrum team can be part of it and present ideas to the team to the forum or meeting. Tech lead can apply the constraints received from the forum to their respective services or code. Remember, Without guidance, self-organizing agile teams will make some decisions that will best suit their timeline and budget. This decentralized decision making sometimes works, but sometimes it is not aligned with the entire system and may create potential for rework, integration issues, and other technical depth. That's why we need governance and controls. That's why an SA can decide what kind of decisions team can make on their own and what decisions are required to be made centrally. Scaled Agile framework has some guidance on what type of decisions should be centralized and what should be decentralized. In an organization, there can be one or more levels of governance. For example, a solution architect assigned to a project, and solution architect is responsible for the solution architecture of the entire project. But solution architect also has to be virtually present in each Scrum team as well as center of excellence. This diagram shows two levels of governance and controls within the organization. So at the project level, is the solution architect himself or herself establishing some governance and his controls? But at the organization level, there is a center of excellence team that is establishing the governance and controls, and solution architect may copy that and cascade it to the individual Scrum teams. If the project architecture is solely the solution architect's responsibility, then solution architects should be involved early in the project, such as during the requirements gathering stage or even in the pre-sales stage. It is few weeks earlier than the development will start. This is the solution discovery phase. I said solution discovery for solution architect, in which solution architect will start the design work, understand the context, schedule the quality attribute workshops, review existing architecture documents, etc. A solution architect will do as much as research as possible to explain the current or the baseline architecture and also what is needed to build the target architecture. At the end of the solution discovery, solution architects should be ready with a draft solution design document. This draft design will include a target design also, though it will be still fluid. Typically, many projects have a sprint zero, and solution architects can utilize sprint zero to have the first-hand interaction and discussion with the development team. If it's not there, then solution architect plans something like sprint zero to set up the architecture framework, third-party libraries, environment, CI/CD process, agree on cadence with the team, and create weekly design discussion or status meeting with the development team for subsequent weeks. Prepare as much information and draft design and documents before sprint zero to make the most of sprint zero. Finalize things such as architecture document by the end of sprint zero, so that development can start on the basis of the design document. During development, we can prepare more low-level design documents and also take help of the development team to prepare the low-level design document. A better version of design document is output of the sprint zero. Note, if the delivery manager is planning sprint zero, then there are a lot of deliverables produced as an output of the sprint zero. They are not a responsibility of solution architect, but they are there, and the solution architect can help in them, like document or presentation of the project kickoff document, project charter, communication plan, meeting schedule, RASI matrix, requirements documentation, risk and mitigation approach, CI/CD process, project tools, team space, stories groomed for next couple of sprints, how testing will be done, environments, licenses, and so on. Documenting architecture in itself is a skill, and it is not simple. Remember, when team is globally distributed, then documentation becomes more important. Because you can't speak always, and in some people may prefer written things in written. That's why it's good to document. Architecture diagrams are critical components of the architecture documentation. A solution architect may create one diagram or more, but if solution architect is trying to create one diagram like an holistic view to represent everything, then it can be a mistake. So one structure can be represented in different views, and different stakeholders have different perspective. That's why we should create multiple views depending on the type of stakeholders. 4+1 approach is one common technique. It recommends multiple views. First is a logical view, which is the logical architecture, primarily supporting the functional architecture. It can be a UML or ER diagram. There is also a process view, which is grouping of tasks that form an executable unit, such as sequence diagrams, communication diagrams, activity diagrams. There is a development view, which showcases systems from a programmer's perspective and is concerned with the software management. The view can be such as a UML package diagram. And there is a physical view that takes into account primarily the non-functional requirements of the system, such as availability, reliability, security, etc. And then the elements in all four views can be shown working together in some use cases. So it just such as a sequence of interaction between objects, between processes, for some specific business scenarios. Another popular technique for creating solution diagrams is C4, which is inspired by Google Maps, in which you can zoom in, zoom out. And there are 4 levels in C4. Level 4 has the most low-level details. Level 1 is the highest level, which is the system context diagram, providing a starting point showing how the software system and scope fits into the world around it. Level 2 is a container diagram that zooms into the software system and scope, showing the high-level technical building blocks. A container is something like a server-side web application, single-page application, desktop application, mobile app, database schema, file system, etc. Essentially, a container is a separately runnable, deployable unit that executes codes and stores data. For example, this is a container diagram showcasing different microservices in the container, and these microservices, we call them component. So this is one system having multiple components, and each component is a microservice. The next level of details can be the class diagrams of each microservice, package structure of each microservice, and so on. For ongoing changes, if I'm part of a project that has multiple releases in a year, and for each release I need to prepare a design document, then C4 is very suitable because I can just copy the system context from one document to other document, because mostly the things which are changing are at the component level. If required, I can add some of those views from the 4+1 diagram. And this is just another example of a design document template. I worked in a company where stakeholder sign-off, review, and approval was very important, as well as maintaining the version of the document, especially after a document has been reviewed by any stakeholder, was important. So I followed this kind of a structure. And another design document I saw in another company, which was more inspired from TOGAP, and it had a current, transition, and target. So TOGAP is a standard for enterprise architecture, no solution architecture. That's why sometimes it fits, sometimes it may not fit. And this was too much detailed document to be prepared for every release. And but this is a good document if for a big transformation project, because we can have the current architecture, a lot of details of the current architecture before the transformation begins. Then we can have the target state, and then we have the migration approach for the transformation. Even at the smaller level of document which I create for releases, I try to capture current, transition, and target everything in one diagram. So in one diagram, I can showcase like what new things are getting added, what things are changing, what is getting deleted, and that's why I can showcase both current and target in one diagram. Mm, and obviously, actually, since this diagram is just for one release, so there is no transition. It's just specific to one release, current and target. There are other examples of templates available on the internet, such as from Gartner. This example is from the BizDesign website, and I think this template is from the Gartner. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching the video. If you like, then please like the video and subscribe. Thank you.